demonstration project. And so with that, I'll turn it over to CEC Commissioner Noemi Gallardo to kick off the panel. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Buenos días. Good morning. Bienvenidos. Welcome. Happy EPIC Symposium Day 2. I'm Noemi Gallardo, Commissioner at the California Energy Commission, and I'm excited to participate in this plenary session for several reasons. First, this month is Latino Heritage Month, and as the first Latina to serve as Commissioner at the Energy Commission, I'm proud that my community can celebrate this accomplishment with me. And that's important to me because I'm hoping more Latinos, especially the youth, can view me as an example to get involved in the clean energy evolution we're in, because we need all the help we can get, given how hard the climate crisis is impacting us. And this plenary session will focus on how we can do more to bring communities, especially those who may have been harmed first and worst by climate change, into this clean energy evolution so that they can benefit from the types of efforts the Energy Commission and our peer agency, the California Public Utilities Commission, are doing, such as the EPIC program. By focusing on environmental justice communities, we can better ensure that all Californians have a clean energy future. So this plenary session is called Promoting Scalable and Meaningful Impacts with Environmental Justice Communities. This panel will explore California's energy equity policy priorities and how EPIC research investments are providing support. Speakers will highlight lessons learned and identify remaining barriers for communities that are most impacted by pollution and climate-related events. We have three fantastic speakers: Genaro Bugarin, Director of Innovation at the Energy Coalition; Kathy Leonard, Founder and Executive Director of the Oakland Neighborhoods for Equity; Community Liaison for the Oakland Eco Block Project; and Carla Rodriguez, Director for the Department of Public Works of the La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians. So to begin, I'm going to give time for the panelists to be able to introduce themselves. We want them to say a little bit about their role, what their organization does, tell us about the project, and also the status of the project. So why don't we begin with Genaro?
Thank you, Commissioner Gallardo. A pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation. And great to have an opportunity to join the discussion and share our insights. My name is Genaro Bugarin. I'm a Director of Energy Innovation at the Energy Coalition, a nonprofit with close to 50 years of working with public agencies and communities across the state and designing and implementing energy programs. Our vision is one in which we see a future in which clean energy is affordable and accessible to all communities. I'm going to be speaking to the experience that we have on one of EPIC's 4 advanced energy community projects. This is a phase 2 implementation grant. And so we are focused in the implementation of a number of project features in a disadvantaged and low-income community in unincorporated East LA County. Should I introduce the project, Commissioner, or should we do introductions?
Go ahead and introduce the project a little bit further.
Okay, sounds good. So our approach to this project consists of multiple projects, looking to maximize the people we touch and looks for transformation at scale. We have a community-led approach with CBOs and nonprofits as leading the effort. The project components include community solar. We have 2 community solar projects that are expected to provide low-income households with clean 100% clean energy, along with a 20% bill discount. This is in partnership with the CPUC Community Solar Green Tariff and with the Clean Power Alliance, the low serving entity in the area, the CC in the area. We also have a resiliency center, which is a microgrid with solar and storage, providing up to 4 hours of backup power. This is at a community selected park. And in addition to that, we have advanced homes in which we are helping decarbonize low-income single-family homes, making them healthier and more resilient. The upgrades to the homes include energy efficiency, weatherization, solar, as well as battery storage, and include heat pump water heaters, retrofits, as well as induction stoves. In addition to that, we are doing both ambient air quality monitoring as well as tailpipe emissions. The air quality is helping inform the community's emissions reduction strategies. And with the tailpipe emissions, we are helping to prioritize fleet electrification in the area. In addition to that, we have EV charging infrastructure, EV charging stations, as well as a shared mobility program, where we're looking to improve the access to and the familiarity of the EV infrastructure and the electric clean cars in the community. And as we implement and install much of these decentralized energy technologies, we're looking to demonstrate the value of those technologies from a demand side perspective, from a grid services perspective, and looking to study the connection between grid support as well as customer and end use support. And so we're working with both our local CCA and Edison, the utility, on a virtual power plant demonstration project and a dynamic rate demonstration project. As a whole, we're in the midst of implementation as of now, with plans to complete installations mid to late next year in 2024, and then wrap up with all of the reporting requirements by the end of 2025. And that's a little bit about the project.
Thank you so much, Renato, and I'm eager to ask you some questions. We will wait. It reminded me that I also should tell the audience, please feel free to put in any comments or questions you have in the Q&A, and we will carve out some time at the end to ask questions, for you to ask questions directly to our speakers here. So next up, we have Kathy Leonard. Kathy, if you could do an introduction, introduce yourself, your organization, what it does, talk about the project and what status the project is in.
Sure. Thank you, Naomi. Hi, my name is Kathy Leonard. I am associated with the EcoBlock project in Oakland. So the Oakland EcoBlock is a neighborhood scale energy retrofit. Our site is one block with 25 1 to 4 unit households. The project is conducting home performance work right now: insulation, air sealing, electrification. And my role is and has been to engage the community, to lead meetings, periodically ask for feedback, and also to familiarize myself with the neighborhood, the surrounding areas, and utilize my resources at City Hall. The status of the project is that it began August 14th, yay. So PG&E is working on the service upgrades, and we expect them to be completed February of next year. At that time, construction, including the solar panels, will happen. And in the next few months, we plan to complete the bioswale detention facility at the end of the block and plan for street plantings. We also plan to get the EV, the electric vehicle car share started by the end of the year. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And even though that's it, that's a lot. So
right. It's a huge project.
That's right. Okay, well, we will ask you some questions, but we'll go to our next speaker to enable her to introduce herself. So Carla, if you could introduce yourself, talk a little bit of the entity you're representing, talk about the project and the status of the project.
Hi, thank you. I am Carla Rodriguez. I do apologize. I'm leaving my video off. It messes up my my connection with everything. So I am Carla Rodriguez, the Director of Public Works for La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians. I have only been in this position for like 3 years. I got handed this project from our EPA director, Rob Roy. So that is, we were given through Grid Alternatives 10 mobile solar units for emergency. our medical houses, so we don't have to rush out when the electric goes down. For those people, they automatically have electricity to run their medical units that they need. The project is awesome. It's been great. It's great for us because we don't have to run up and take the solar units out to our medical needs people. And then we also have 5 that are still remaining here that we do use for events, which they're just awesome because they're quiet. They're the only bad thing is that they're a little bit heavy, but it's been working awesome. Everybody's really happy with them. I'm still in the learning process for all this. Like I said, I'm public works, so I'm roads and maintenance and projects. But I'm in the learning stage, and it's been awesome working with Grid Alternatives, Nicole Bloom and Stan Morrison, Dan Dumovich, and Aaron Dyer. They have helped me out so much. So, and then we are working. So it is awesome. We are trying to save the greenery and conserve energy.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Carla. And
that's about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to know?
that's perfect. Thank you so much, Carla.
Go ahead. Thank you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now, we appreciate that you're joining us, in overcoming those connectivity issues, which we know happen, and also is an equity issue. Again, and no apologies needed. We appreciate that you're here and able to engage with us. All right, so let's get started with some questions so we can dig into what you all talked about, your projects, a little bit further. And so I want to start out with the question about something that we hear often at the Energy Commission is, that we need to work more directly with communities to develop projects and programs. And that way we are really listening to what are the priorities of that community, what are the actual needs, what are the gaps, and when we are hearing all of that and working more directly with communities, then we can actually provide them the benefits that they need, that they want, instead of the ones that we think may be the ones that are good for them. So from the community perspective, what are some of the, we'll call them opportunities that you all see in getting projects cited in the communities, especially the communities that need the most? And Renato, I know you emphasized a lot when you were talking about the project, community organizations leading, community leading, community selected. So it does sound like you're emphasizing that community aspect. So I wanted to start with you to see if you could talk a little bit about that, any opportunities, challenges, and whatnot that would benefit, the agencies to hear, and also, our audience, which has a diverse, is very diverse in terms of who's here. So let me give the mic to you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. We believe, of course, that that communities can and should take a leading role in the design and implementation of programs and projects that are looking to benefit them. And so one of the things that I think we need to be acknowledging is that we need to provide funding. And so funding for planning activities, funding in the way in which communities are to be participating in. For instance, when we think about a project or a program, so let's say, for instance, the community solar project or program that is part of the CPUC's disadvantaged low-income community solar, there's a requirement that communities support and identify the site where the community solar is to be kind of developed, as well as do initial outreach and initial engagement to develop awareness and interest. But that activity itself is not necessarily funded. And so we, it's great that we have a program that, that provides for access to for low-income households to have access to clean energy. But if it requires them to do a number of things without us acknowledging that they need to be funded and provided for, that support, I think that's an opportunity where we can provide additional resources for them to do that. So that's one example. The other, I think, it would be to acknowledge that there's a perhaps capacity building that we can do, so that when we think about the decision-making process or the funding strategies or the design of the programs, that those community stakeholders and community representatives can be at the table and provide feedback and support to the design of the guidelines that eventually become those programs that we all want to participate in. So those are two examples of and opportunities to engage more effectively with communities.
That's excellent. Thank you. And let me turn it over to Kathy now. So Kathy, you talked about how the focus is one block and how you're trying to familiarize yourself with the community. And so what are you seeing, in terms of either opportunities or lessons learned or any challenges in moving along these projects and getting the communities involved?
Well, first, I want to say that I agree with Gennaro about funding opportunities. That is critical. Perhaps the CEC can match communities with research teams. Also, our block self-selected. So they nominated themselves for this project in response to an opportunity notice that we sent in 2019. And so that was very helpful. The block, I don't know about the entire block, but the majority of the block was very interested in EcoBlock and wanted to be a part of it. So I think there were maybe 4 that were finalists, and then we selected one out of those 4. The other thing is it's critical to listen to what the community needs instead of us foisting our ideas upon them. For instance, we didn't know that security was a bigger issue or a larger priority than energy. There was drug dealing at the end of the block. It's a block that is dead ends, it's cul-de-sac. People were bringing stolen cars onto the end of the block and stripping them down. And this wasn't any of the activities that were happening by neighbors themselves. It was outsiders coming in and doing this. So I think with our project being there, and also Ring, and just seeing that we were there and we were doing something, stopped that activity from happening. And the neighbors sort of surrounded themselves and said, look, what can we do about this too? I informed them about beat meetings. So Oakland is made up of 52 police beats. So you have 2 officers who are assigned to each beat, along with a city representative. And the goal is to solve community problems on a block by block basis. If you call 911, you're in a big whale with everybody else. But if you go to your beat meetings, you can get problems solved right there. The city representative will work with different departments in the city of Oakland that can help solve their particular needs. Another challenge is new technology. If we're introducing people to new technology, we need to show them what it means. I adore my Wedgwood stove. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And that was always my mantra. Then Teresa and I, our principal investigator in EcoBlock, heard about a demonstration of commercial induction cooktops in San Ramon. It's maybe 20 or 30 minutes away from Oakland where we are. So we went to this demonstration, and I came away super impressed. Water boiled in 2 minutes. It was just incredible, the speed and the energy saved by being able to cook a lot faster. If we could take residents to those demonstrations and let them see for themselves that, going electric isn't bad at all. It's not what you thought it is. There's so many misconceptions. Another challenge was people said, I don't want to be the guinea pig. I don't want to be the first one doing this. We said, look, you don't have to spend any money. This is a research project. Your electricity bills will go down. They'll be non-existent. I'm sorry, your gas bills will be non-existent. And we talked about all the benefits that would happen. And the neighbors were sold. So you really have to listen to what their needs are. And that's how you begin to build trust too, because that to me is the paramount issue. You have got to build trust with these communities that you're going into, and particularly if you're an outsider. I'm from Oakland, so I know all of Oakland, and that helped me tremendously in dealing with this block. But you really need to engage a community liaison who lives in that community, or at least lives in the city and is familiar with that city. You've got to build trust with these communities. Oh, one last thing.
Go ahead.
We need to be very careful about programs that incur loans or lease agreements with low-income households. To us, it may seem like, that's not a lot of money. But when you're low income, and especially in Oakland now, where the cost of housing and of renting is astronomical, we need to be careful of adding to people's financial burdens. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. You said quite some powerful stuff there, particularly listening builds trust. So I want to emphasize that. We'll come back to some of what you brought up, but I wanted to make sure I gave Carla a chance to speak to this question. So Carla, you're representing, working with a tribe. And so I think it's, similar concept with the tribe. I want to make sure you have that opportunity to address this, working directly with the tribe and ensuring, that we as agencies are working as good partners in addressing the needs of the tribes. What are you seeing from their perspective in terms of any challenges or opportunities or lessons learned in getting these projects, into tribal communities or tribal areas? And feel free to speak just to your tribe if that works better.
Okay, thank you. So we are just a small tribe. Most of the tribes that surround us are gaming tribes, and they do have, more money than us from those casinos. So we mainly run off grants and any kind of funding. So as Gennaro and Kathy said, it is funding, and things do need to be cost effective for our tribal residences to afford this. And funding, if it's funding and there is a cost share, we don't have that money to put forward to any kind of infrastructure on this. Also, there is coming into this, I have learned people are very fearful because they've heard stories of other people getting solar on the tribal lands and other reservations, and have had, when it kills, are more than they were before they got the solar. So a lot of them don't want to get it. So I'm trying to learn about all that and speaking with grid alternatives and trying to figure that out too, and how that works and how we can get around that, But also we have like 5 housing communities that would need, to run those areas. And like Kathy said, safety and security is an issue. So like we have no streetlights or anything on in those communities. So that would be a great help for us if we could get something in those communities to help us with that security, those security problems. Because, we're up here in the mountains, we're a small tribe. Like Kathy said, there's drugs, there's drugs everywhere. And they think it's okay because it's dark and it's not secured. So having lighting and stuff like that run off solar or anything would be the most awesome thing. But again, it needs to be cost effective, and our funding needs to be adequate enough for our tribe.
Thank you so much, Carla. We appreciate that, and also acknowledge, La Jolla Band of Lispeño Indians, even if it is small, it still can do big things. And so we appreciate hearing that. And something I heard as I was listening to all 3 of you was funding. And so I wanted to dig into that a little bit more since all of you brought it up and brought it up first. So with funding, is it about getting more dollars towards the grants, the loans, whatever it is, or is it more about the mechanisms? I think I heard Kathy speak to like research maybe, how can we fund some research? Also, Carla mentioned education. If there are solar scams that happened that have scared people from getting solar, trying something new related to, energy, that could be a piece. So I wanted to dig in a little bit further on that too. And then Renato, I think I heard you talk about funding to ensure that the community can get involved and engage. But I don't want to speak for you, so I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about that. Kathy, did you want to start on that? Can you tell us a little bit more about what were you thinking, what types of mechanisms, or if it is more dollars, what are you recommending to agencies and others?
Well, let me tell you a little more about EcoBlock. So we are dealing with the built environment. This isn't a new project. It is in the sense that we're upgrading or retrofitting existing housing. In order to adequately address climate change, we need to look at all communities, people who are rich, people who have modest income or have middle-class incomes, well, maybe not even them today. A lot of people, let's just say, can afford these upgrades, but the majority of people in the United States or elsewhere for that matter, cannot afford these upgrades. So how do we address that? If they can't afford the upgrades themselves, and the majority of people are renters, are low income, how are we going to adequately address climate change? There's got to be some funding on the state level, on the federal level, and it has to be massive funding. Of course, we're looking at ways that we can do this where it's economical, and that can be done. But we need to really seriously address the funding issue if we're really serious about climate change.
Thank you, Kathy. And that's important for you to hold us accountable on, what we could be doing better as states, as agencies. So don't hold back on that. And yeah, so it's like going deeper with those investments to ensure that folks can participate adequately. And, it's such a crisis. We need everyone to get involved. And some of those that are being harmed worse by the crisis can't even get involved because they're focused on other things, as we were hearing from you earlier.
Right. And that's why that's why we so appreciate the EPIC program, because we wouldn't have been able to do this. We would have been looking for money. I mean, it would have taken forever. And so with this initial down payment of money, this helped us tremendously. And we are seeking other funding too, hint, hint, for you out there in the real world. But, this is a prototype. We want to do more eco blocks. We want the next to be 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks. And this increases the trust among community members. Because this block was already banded together, and that's why we really chose them. They sent us a picture of them, like some people sent pictures and they were all like statues. And they sent a picture of a block party where they were all making goofy faces, the adults, the teenagers, the parents, the grandparents. And we said, this is a fun block. And I think that they obviously like each other. And we think that they would work well with this project. And so I think these kind of things would bring communities together. And I also have to say, in Oakland traditionally had very closed communities. People knew everybody on their block. You knew everybody from blocks around. Now with the changing demographics of Oakland, neighbors don't know each other, and they're not trying to get to know each other. But these type of projects could incentivize people to get to know their neighbors, to trust their neighbors, and to do big things on a large scale, but on a small scale with working together and families just doing the best they can to help each other and to help our environment.
That's wonderful to hear, Kathy. Thank you so much, because that human element of it, even you saying people smiling and joking around and being silly together makes a difference. So even though we're going through the doom and gloom of a climate crisis, it's helpful to have that hope and inspiration that those humans in those communities, are bringing to us and helping motivate us to do even more at all levels. So thank you for that, Kathy. Our friend Carla is having connectivity issues. So we're going to be patient with her. She may have to be in and out. So I'm going to go to Genaro next to give Carla a chance to get her connection. So Genaro, you were talking about capacity building and ensuring communities have the resources they need to be able to get involved, to engage, and especially if we're expecting or hoping that they get involved with the design of projects, which is something that we're also looking at the Energy Commission. How can we do more of that, which can be challenging. But what are you thinking? Is there something specific that you would recommend to the agencies, or is it more about you as an administrator getting involved? Would love to hear your perspective on those.
Yeah, thank you. So I agree with Kathy about the human element. And one of the reasons that our project includes so many different types of projects across the spectrum, from transportation to residential and non-residential, is that we wanted to create awareness and allow for that awareness across the project features and the benefits that they are bringing to the community, create a connection within the community, and then allow for that adaptation, right? That network effect from people sharing with others. And so these projects, I would say, as Kathy mentioned, right, can be transformational in the community, but we need to be open and realize that communities' needs include other social and economic concerns that oftentimes, are not front and center when we're thinking about energy. And so continuing to fund and realize that we need cross-cutting, multi-benefit type of projects is going to be important to be able to be addressing from an equitable perspective, community-wide transformation. When it comes to funding, there is, the Inflation Reduction Act has a lot of funding. There's a number of programs at the state level that bring additional funding. Specifically, some of the state budgets in recent years have provided for funding to across up and down the state across various programs. But we need to be thoughtful about what the funding is, what those programs and those funds are funding, and be mindful that we need to fund community-led efforts, and that there is a place for funding the technology. And as both Carla and Kathy mentioned, we need to be thinking about whether people can be affording those things, but also for us to work on the deployment, we need to make sure that we can think about how people are going to come to realize the benefit of the technologies, right? And so the technology itself is great, but also the community outreach, the community engagement, the education around the benefits of the technologies themselves, right? And so perhaps it's less on the research, and some of these technologies are proven. We don't need to do significant research. When we do the research, let's think about researching from the perspective of equity, right? We have heat pump technology on water heaters. Initially, we needed to do electrical upgrades and even some panel upgrades because they were 220 volt, right? Heat pump water heaters. And then, there was research put into and invested on 120 volt, plug and play kind of heat pump water heater. So that's research with equity in mind, I would say. That type of research is needed so that we can remove barriers and address the challenges that we have in the community. But also, when we think about business models, right? How can we turn these offerings to be true no cost? A lot of the rebates and incentives programs require that people have the money to provide for the investment and the upgrade up front. But that's going to be a challenge and a significant barrier for people to participate. And so even, for instance, in California, our SGIP battery incentive program, we wanted to provide all of our residential upgrades at no cost. And it was really difficult to finance the batteries. They're expensive, but we were able to use the SGIP, and with a bridge financing facility that we had to essentially develop ourselves because the market was not allowing for that to happen. We provided the funds to the contractor, right? Because contractors also are not able to carry these costs. Neither the homeowner, can provide for those costs. And so it's great to have the incentive and the rebate, but if it's going to come a year later, then that's a barrier for low-income households. And so I think, just to reiterate, right? So business models around the incentives and the incentivizing of things, research on with equity in mind, and also funding that goes into the deployment and not just the technology itself.
Excellent. Thank you, Genaro. Just, it's comprehensive. We got to think about all the various aspects and the phases and stages of it. So hearing you on that. Kathy, I saw you nodding, so I wanted to give you a chance. Is there anything that you wanted to echo here, emphasize anything?
Yes, I was just agreeing with what Gennaro was saying. Everything he said is absolutely right. Yeah,
Got it.
I was just nodding in agreement.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gennaro.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, let me check in with Carla to see if she's able to chime in here too. So Carla, something that stood out to me from what you were talking about, is particularly with solar, is there, may have been some scams that scared some folks off from participating, and maybe need more education to see that there, was benefit in the solar program. So could you talk a little bit more about that, or if there's anything else that you think the state or agencies can invest better in to ensure that communities and tribes are part of this clean energy evolution we're working on?
I think when it comes to our tribe, it would be, as Gennaro said, a little research. Also, like, it's the when and where and how we would place or go forward to this clean energy for our communities. That, or you know what I mean? It's just like the education for the people. It's also, I hate to say this, but it's also getting the community engaged. I really hate to say anything bad, but everybody kind of wants everything handed to them. So it's like this, well, you need to come learn about it. Are you going to do the work to get this? It's not just going to be, oh, you want this, here you go. And a lot of our people do not, except for our elders, but a lot of our younger people or middle to get anything for themselves that will prosper them. So that's one of our problems, is the community engagement, getting them to get engaged, get involved, and understand that they need to do a little bit of work and get educated for them. And then cost effective again is a big thing for us.
If I may,
Please do.
Carla, what we did was we had some community building activities. We have a laundry to part of our domain is we are doing laundry to landscape. And so we had a workshop on the first house that we did, and all the neighbors came, even the kids came because they wanted to see what was going on. Maybe picking up trash together, because there is a trash problem at the front of this street. It's on near a busy street. Yeah, and just having workshops that appeal. I'm sorry, something's falling down. Workshops that appeal to kids, to teenagers. You have to reach people where they are, and we're not all on the same level. So if you can find some activities that would interest teenagers, give them some incentive, and maybe that's through funding as well, and get the whole community involved. And I think when community starts to see the benefits, there's more trust involved. And then people start to take an interest in their communities, hopefully.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah, I hadn't told. Go ahead.
Renato was going to give you was going to comment here. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh yes, definitely. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Carla. I wanted to emphasize the fact that beyond the engagement, what we also have experienced and learned and recognize is the importance of being able to support the process, support the, whether it's the installation or the retrofit or right. We have opted for a turnkey sort of wraparound type of case management support approach because we really felt that was needed. It wasn't sufficient to engage and create that interest and then be able to provide that, kind of pass that on to someone who was going to install a heat pump water heater, right? We needed to ensure that that installation happened, that it happened the way we wanted it to be, or that it was coordinated with the homeowner. And because we are doing solar and battery storage and energy efficiency, and we have like 7 different contractors and trades coming in, we're even paying for some of the roof upgrades because there's a concern about deferred maintenance on the roof on these homes. The emphasis became the fact that we needed to ensure that the experience of all of this work happening at the home, while having a great value and benefit, was not creating a burden on people, with all these people calling in and getting site visits scheduled and the whole experience of various contractors and whatnot. So the case management became important because we wanted to make sure that we were holding their hand, so to speak, through that process. And at the end, that we were able to quantify or qualify both the energy, but also the non-energy benefits for them, the improvement of the indoor air quality, for instance, with the induction stove. And so we don't want people to walk away after things become complicated because someone did something that they weren't supposed to. And so we need to be able to support the process. I think that's an important thing that I like to emphasize, because then we can create energy champions and environmental justice champions out of the work that we're doing, and in that way we can scale the effort across different communities. So.
Thank you, Renato. And I do want to go to questions from the audience. I see there's a lot of activity in Q&A, but Carla, real quick, we may have cut you off, so I wanted to check, was there something else you wanted to say there?
No, I just want to say thank you. And then I totally appreciate you, Kathleen Gennaro, for your input and your guidance on this. Like I said, I'm new to all this, so I am trying to learn. I am trying to get my community involved. I would like to do everything I can to get this project, any kind of project that would be, energy efficient to our communities. So I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate your guidance here.
Thank you.
Feel
Carla.
free to reach out to me too, Carla, if you'd like.
All right, so we'll share that contact information for for all of you. And let's move to the audience now, because this is a
okay. Thank you very much, Kathy.
There we go. All right, so Michael Ferreira from the Energy Commission will tee up some questions for the panel. Go ahead.
A couple in the Q&A. The first one is, how are the subscription requirements being satisfied in the community solar project? I think that one's for Renato.
Yeah, thank you. So the off-taker, or the entity who's buying the generation of the community solar project, is the CCA, the Clean Power Alliance, and so the management of the subscribers is a responsibility for them. And essentially, anyone who's eligible can maintain that subscription. If someone moves away, or if someone falls out of eligibility because their income changed, for instance, then they create a spot for somebody else. And so the Clean Power Alliance will hold a queue or a waiting list of people that can then jump into that spot and continue to be a beneficiary of that project and the generation that it provides.
Hey, thank you. Next question is, how are your respective projects harnessing community capacity and building community wealth?
So
Want to take that? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I can start with the capacity. So we do include and have as part of the project some a workforce development component. And so as we're doing the solar installations, community members are being trained. Our partner Great Alternatives has a training program for them, and so there is an opportunity for people to be upskilled or to change direction in terms of their employment or their careers to join the clean energy workforce. And so that's one component. We would love to do more of that, right? And so when it comes to funding, we should be thinking about how we fund more activities that do provide for a shared prosperity for everyone. And then I think, when we think about long-term sustainability of the project, I think that having two community-based organizations, Day One and Active SGB, leading the effort and engaging with community and supporting the effort, they are now essentially more able to provide and support these efforts going forward. And so that capacity has it's now there in a sustainable way. And they're not only doing this project, but now they're participating in other clean energy projects. And so that's the type of capacity building that I think, is very meaningful, because they will become stakeholders to bring additional funding to the community.
Kathy, did you want to add on to that? No pressure, just make sure you have opportunity.
Yeah, I guess we're building wealth and by increasing the value of the properties by putting on solar panels, the microgrid, swapping out high energy appliances for low energy appliances, laundry to landscaping. Also, we're increasing the curb appeal of that block. There's some areas that are between the curb and the sidewalk that need maintenance. So, the neighbors will join in and select what sort of landscaping they want, what sort of trees they want to plant there. And there'll be an electric vehicle there as well. So it'll provide shade, because this particular block is hot. And I like it. I love heat, but a lot of people don't like the heat. So there's a few trees, but it really needs more trees to increase the livability on that street. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. Thank you, Kathy. And it's also about dignity, right? People feeling even more proud and not embarrassed about where they live, where they work, where they, function, where they play. So I love that. So we are at time, and it felt so fast. I still have a million things that I would love to ask you. I'm sure the audience does as well, but we need to close. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists, for a closing statement, brief. Is there a call to action that you want to make here? If something, what is that? Kathy, would you like to start?
The call to action is to spread the word about what our projects are. Make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Like, a lot of people are asking me about EcoBlock in Oakland. They've heard, some of my neighbors, I didn't even know were in this field, in the energy field. And they said, hey, I hear you're associated with EcoBlock. Tell me more. So just getting the word out. And for the people who are living on EcoBlock, there's 4 languages on our block. We've got English, Spanish, Cantonese, and Arabic. We had to provide translators. So that means that each one of those discrete communities can go to their communities and sing the praises about what we're doing about climate change. And then people will say, you know what, this is something I want to do for my block. How can we do that? And so we're writing a guidebook to aid people who come after us so they can do their own EcoBlock. So I would say just get the word out. Get the word out to cities, to find what community groups are building resilience hubs and who need assistance. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Kathy. Energy in all languages. Get the word out. Love them. Genaro, a quick call to action for us.
We have a very interesting and exciting time, right? As of now with funding sources, lots of work, lots of grant opportunities, but and technology that is ready for deployment, right? But I think we need I think I would emphasize the need for deployment from a community perspective, and even continue to emphasize, how do we deploy, right? So projects and activities and funding activities and funding the CBOs, the community-based organizations, the communities that are, doing the work of gaining the trust of the community that we want to serve is going to be important, so that we can get the equitable energy transition to actually realize, and so we can transform communities from being under-resourced and disadvantaged or not well represented to being leaders in the clean energy transition.
Excellent. So we got to keep that community perspective to make sure we can make that happen.
And I second General's comment about reaching out to CBOs, because there's some in Oakland that are starting the work of building resiliency hubs, and they're looking for funding. So certainly reach out to those people. They've been researching and doing the work.
Yeah, I think resiliency centers deserve its own plenary session. So I hear that. I'm excited about them too. Carla, you get the final word. Is there a call to action you want to make here, just briefly?
I
And
think,
yeah,
I think we lost her.
We did. We lost connection. So unfortunately, but thank you so much, Kathy, Renato, Carla as well, for this beautiful conversation, and especially emphasizing that human element that is so important for us to keep in mind, despite how much we're talking about technologies. So I'm going to hand it over to our event organizer here for next remarks.
Hi there, Commissioner Gallardo and Gennaro, Kathy, Carla, thanks for that excellent conversation. I think it's so true what they say when we talk about climate urgency and the need to do it. We won't achieve our emissions reductions goals unless these technologies really do reach everyone in our state and everyone can participate. And so that was a very enlightening discussion, just to be transparent about some of the challenges, but again, some of the opportunities that come when we think about deploying some of our R&D technologies into these communities to really show the real world benefits. So with that, we are now going to transition, like yesterday, to a 30-minute video segment where we'll have the next Epic Challenge competition projects. They submitted a slew of videos that are highlighting their designs for all electric mixed use developments throughout California, very much related to our previous plenary. That'll run for about 30 minutes. And then we'll have an additional 10 minutes of videos from some of our EPIC grant recipients highlighting some of their latest technologies. And then from there, we'll go to about an hour, 20-minute, hour and a half lunch break. We'll be returning at 1 p.m. for our final breakout sessions of the day, running from 1 to 2 p.m. There'll be 3 to pick from. And I'll just note that also during the lunch session, we have a video gallery available. So if you missed one of the videos from yesterday, you're always welcome to check that out. Or if you want to check out the videos from the lunchtime, you can see that in the video gallery in the Zoom events. And with that, we'll transition now over to the next session. Go ahead and head over to the lobby and then click on the next video session for the next Epic Challenge videos. Thanks, everyone. And after the videos, we'll see you all back at 1 p.m.